You know that tweet? I was talking to my neighbor and his daughter, and they said that they adopted a cat recently, but they let it outside and it got eaten by a coyote, and they kept doing this. So 3 of their recent adopted cats have gotten eaten by coyotes. And then I said, it just sounds like you're feeding coyotes cats from the adoption, from the pound or whatever. And then his daughter started crying. Anyway, that's us in planes right now in Iran. We're feeding them planes, and I don't know why. Iran's locking in. They've played their Arma 3, and they're nailing the trick shots. Past 24 hours, U.S. aircraft incidents across the region. One F-15E Strike Eagle fighter bomber downed. 1 pilot rescued, 1 crew missing. There's a $60,000, I believe, $60,000 bounty in Iran on capturing this guy. So Iran might soon get their first prisoner of war. 2 HH-60W Jolly Green 2 combat rescue helicopters hit by Iran landed safely. 1 A-10 Warthog crashed to the Persian Gulf. Curious. Another A-10 aircraft hit made emergency landing with 1 engine disabled. F-16 declared emergency over Iraq, landed safely. Stratotanker declared emergency over Israel, landed safely. Iran also claims it struck and downed another U.S. jet near Kishim Island yesterday. Is that the first F-15 downed ever? No. Wasn't there... Well, wait. I might be getting them mixed up. What I can tell you, though, is that this is the first time that one of our pilots has potentially ended up a POW over in Iran. We'll see how that goes. Sheesh. Can't believe we're still using those shitty-ass A-10s. Sorry, they're just too popular. We got too many of them, you know? Gotta use them for something. Downed pilots are a big deal. Very, very, very big deal. Over 75 aircraft were shot down in Desert Storm. Yes, but you are forgetting something, Masaigu, as you... as you always are. You're always 1 step behind, my friend. And that is that back during Desert Storm, Iraq didn't have the ability to make propaganda TikTok videos of them, you know, Fortnite dancing over the corpse of the pilot. Captured pilots mean a hell of a lot more now than they used to. It is getting silly over there. Trump's national security team is gathered at the White House right now. Yeah, that's recent news. That's recent news. You don't have to take my word for it, though.
A major development in the war with Iran. Just minutes ago, U.S. sources confirmed to CNN that an American fighter jet has been shot down over Iran. And a desperate and very dangerous search and rescue mission for the crew is now underway.
3 U.S. sources are confirming earlier Iranian state media reports. Those reports included these images.
Can't Iran get proprietary tech over the aircraft crash? Nah, it's not really a concern. Other countries have F-15s. Also, like, the problem isn't necessarily the tech, it's the fact that Iran can't produce it. Even if Iran knew exactly how to produce an F-15, like exactly down to every detail, that doesn't mean they could make it, you know?
You're seeing right here on the screen of what it claimed, or a downed U.S. force.
Also, F-15s are 1970s tech. Well, the original bases, but this is the what? The F-15E? They've been updating the base model for it. So there's probably proprietary technology on this iteration of it that Iran doesn't have access to. But again, that doesn't mean they can actually build it. The F-15Es from the 2000s? Okay, yeah, it's pretty new.
Fighter jet. CNN has reached out to U.S. Central Command for comment. I want to bring in CNN's Jim Sciutto, who is in Tel Aviv, Israel, and Elena Trine at the White House. Jim, to kick it off with you, what more are you learning?
U.S. officials now confirming that a U.S. fighter jet was shot down over Iranian territory and that a search and rescue operation has been lost and, to our knowledge, remains underway. In fact, there have been images circulating online, geolocated by CNN, which are consistent with a search and rescue operation. They show both fixed-wing aircraft and helicopters, including one video that shows the refueling of 2 helicopters. And that's notable because they would be refueled to stay in the air, which would indicate that they've been in the air for some time, conducting these search and rescue operations. A serious, arguably one of the most serious circumstances in wartime is to have U.S. forces behind enemy lines, shot down behind enemy lines, and to then launch a search and rescue operation, which, though they are trained for, these crews are positioned for these operations and trained for these operations. Those operations themselves are dangerous as well because they put additional U.S. forces over Iranian territory in wartime, and where it's already been demonstrated that Iran maintains the capability to threaten U.S. aircraft.
My understanding was that their military was 100% decimated. CENTCOM is going quiet over this. Is CENTCOM really not confirming the destruction of the jet on Twitter? They usually post pretty actively.
Down one. So those forces.
A second A-10 shot down reported 10 minutes ago? Really? 10 minutes ago? That can't be 10 minutes ago. Yeah, I don't see that in the link that you provided. There are no updates
with
from
great
10 minutes
care,
ago.
but also with immediacy to get those pilots safely and in time. We should note that Iranian state TV, as it earlier reported the shoot down, was exhorting viewers to turn in pilots if they were to find.
Oh, no, you're right. Yeah. Here. This update has it. A-10 aircraft hit by Iranian air defenses. Second U.S. aircraft to go down the Middle East. Oh, no. Second U.S. aircraft. This is the A-10 they're referring to, I think. Like, it's not a second A-10. It's the second plane, the first of which is the F-15E. My bad, gang. It's okay. We all make mistakes.
Them before U.S. forces do. So one might say was something of a race going on, right, between Iranian authorities and forces and U.S. forces to get those pilots to safety.
All right, Jim Sciutto, thank you. We hope that they are safe and that they are rescued. We appreciate it. Let's go now to Elena Treen.
Good luck rescuing them. Iran's a big-ass country.
White House. Elena, what are you hearing there?
Yeah, look, so this is reporting from, 3 U.S. officials, to my colleague Haley Britsky, Kevin Liptak, and I, as Jim laid out, that a U.S. fighter jet has been shot down over Iran and search and rescue is underway. I will note that at this point, there is very little information we actually know about what is happening related to this. We do not know where the plane went down. We do not know the status of the crew on board, and we are not hearing any official word from the U.S. military or the White House at this moment, though, of course, we do know that they are monitoring this very closely. And obviously, this is a very sensitive thing. And so they're being very careful with what they're going to be putting out publicly. Now, I will say one thing we have been hearing, of course, is repeatedly I'm hearing in my conversations with people in that building behind me, you have to be careful with what you're hearing from the Iranian state media, which, of course, has been.
Not really, no. Iranian state media, for the most part, has been completely honest with the world. And every single piece of information coming out of American media and government has been filtered and is often just an outright lie. So no, I would trust the Iranian government on this one.
And sharing a lot of videos and images this morning of this. But what we did hear as well from the state-run Tasman agency, they said that the search for any missing crew had, quote, so far been unsuccessful. Now, I do want to say, part of the reason this is so notable is because this incident does mark the first time that a U.S. aircraft has been shot down over Iran since the beginning of this conflict. For context, we do know that, near the beginning of the war, 3 F-15s were mistakenly shot down in a friendly fighter incident by Kuwait.
I still don't believe that shit, man. That was such a weird thing the media just glossed over. Kuwait just shot down 3 F-15s on accident? Really? Come on. 3 F-15s? Just accidentally. I would love a follow-up on that in the future, if possible.
Air defenses, but this is the first time we're seeing them shot down by enemy fire. Now, again, we are waiting to hear what the White House will ultimately say on this, and similarly with the military. But it is, a huge blow for this Trump administration, in particular at a time when you've heard the president try to project confidence about completely diminishing Iran's military capabilities. And so we'll keep you posted as we learn more on this. Wolf and Pam.
We're getting this new image coming into CNN right now. This is an image published by the Iranian state media, and it appears to show a
That's fucking spooky.
fighter jet ejection seat on the ground.
We're gonna
Look at
find
that.
you.
The CNN analysis of this image indicates this seat is consistent with a model used in a U.S. F-15E fighter jet. The seat which separates from the
This is what I mean about like war being different now. You know, a pilot gets downed in enemy territory, and 15 minutes later, a photo is circulating on Twitter of a guy taking like a selfie next to an ejection seat. You know, very, very different environment, different world.
crew during the ejection process appears to have sustained damage with a portion of its back structure missing. And we're also learning that President Trump has been briefed on this situation. Pamela.
All right, Wolf, let's bring in retired Lieutenant Colonel Amy McGrath. She's a former Marine combat fighter pilot, and we should note she's also running as a Democrat for Senate in Kentucky. Thanks for coming on. First off, what is your immediate reaction to this news that a U.S. fighter jet has been shot down in Iran? You just saw that picture there of the ejected seat. There's a search underway for the aircraft's crew.
Well, my immediate response is, or thought is, really thinking of the families of this of the aircrew here. Look, I have always felt like Iran is a very big country. It's not the same as Iraq or Afghanistan. The administration has said that they have complete air supremacy and air superiority, and that, the president has said, well, we've decimated their surface-to-air missile capabilities. But a lot of us who flew fighter jets and know this space, shall we say, are very worried that that is not the case. And I think that this sort of just shows that. This F-15 was apparently shot down, and,
Really compelling insider testimony, you have a fighter pilot. I feel like you could give some insider information on, like, well, not insider, but I guess insight into, I don't know, the logic and culture around what happens when you're shot down behind enemy lines. There's got to be like, they're telling each other stories, right?
Where hopefully the ongoing operations will get this air crew out of here, but I'm very worried.
Can you give us a little sense of the sort of training these fighter pilots get for situations
Yeah, that's
like
what I
this?
want to know.
Sure. We have the best training in the world for our fighter pilots. We all go through survival school, whether you're in the Air Force or the Marine Corps, the Navy, or even the Army. If you're going to be flying over enemy territory, you're going to go through survival school, in which you're trained on how to survive, but also how to survive a prisoner of war situation. So if you are alive after the ejection, which, the ejection itself is a very violent thing to happen to the body. So, hopefully these crew made it through the ejection. But if you are alive, you're trained on how to communicate to the search and rescue forces that are going to be coming. I mean, I think that's one of the things that we pride ourselves in military aviation. We've got friends out there that are going to come find us. And so even if you're not alive, there's...
Keep in mind that pilots are super, 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 super valuable. Like, a competent pilot often is worth more than the plane they fly. So, I don't know how competent that pilot is, but good pilots are very rare. The training you have to go through is incredibly rigorous, and not a lot of people can do it very well. So, probably gonna go to some ends to find them.
We have mechanisms to, like beacons, shall we say.
This is not the pilot, it's the weapon officer missing? Oh, is that true? Okay, lesser priority then, never mind. So the pilot made it to safety, it's the weapons officer for the F-15E that's stranded in Iran right now? Okay, he's... All right, never mind. All right, okay, good luck over there. Still important? Yeah, but not a pilot. not the pilot.
To find these the remains. So hopefully we will be able to get these air crew back. But we are trained, and right now that's about as much as I can say, because it is a sensitive.
Yeah, they're replacing weapon masters with Grok in the next the Claude Anthropic weapons deployment system is going to be replacing that job soon anyway. So whatever.
operation that you talked about earlier.
To the extent you can, tell us about the sort of defenses these crew members have on their person when they eject from an aircraft over enemy territory.
What the fuck? What do you mean? They have a pistol? I don't. What do you mean? They have like a gun? I don't think they're wearing like plates or anything because they're in a plane. The plane is the plates.
Well, that's a great question. When, you know, in an F-15E, it's much like the aircraft that I flew and the F-18 Delta.
Is this the best 3D model we could get for an F-15E Striker? This has to be the lowest fidelity F-15 3D model in existence. Anyone who would want to model an F-15 would do it with more love and care than this. What are we looking at right now? Jesus Christ.
Weapons systems officer. And you know, when you eject, you don't have a ton of weaponry. You know, you might have your radio to be able to call and have friendly forces try to find you, and you may have a pistol on you and maybe a knife, and that's about it. I mean, there's just not a lot of room in the cockpit for extra stuff. So. I would say another thing to think about here is in ejecting over.
I feel like unironically, your best bet for survival in this situation would be to carry no gear and just have a bunch of like local clothing or whatever, you know? Plenty of Iranians look white. I wonder if you could just like put on the right clothes, and if you're, you know, if you know enough Farsi, maybe you could just, they're hunting for you and they find you and you're like, yeah, I'm looking for him too. And I hope they don't fucking kill you or capture you or ask you how you feel about them Yankees, which would give away the game.
Place like Iran right now. Think about the fact that we don't really know if the population there is for us or against us. And that is
wouldn't that be a war crime? I think it's only a war crime for soldiers to hide as civilians as part of an ambush, but if a person is stranded, like shedding your uniform and trying to blend in, I don't think that's a war crime, because you're not doing it as part of an ambush to like trick people or whatever. You're just trying to not die. I think yeah, that's different. I don't know what the exact like legal distinction is, like where the line is exactly, but I think it's fine for pilots to try to like chill the fuck out behind enemy lines.
It's difficult. I mean, we had sort of this same thing in Iraq and Afghanistan as well. If you're going to be picked up by somebody who is going to turn you over to the Iranian, you know, forces that are going to use you and capture you, or is the population happy that you're there and want to help you? That
probably not this time.
We don't know. And so anybody that gets shot down over that space is having to deal with
people
that.
Can tell if you're American from the way you walk. That ass, you can't blend in. You mean like the weapons officer is walking around like this in through the Iranian mountains? You can actually you can clock him from like 8 miles out just from the silhouette, his profile against the sun. Yeah, the John Lennon walk. Howdy.
Certainty.
It's interesting, Colonel. An anchor for Iran's official Fars news agency said a reward was being offered for anyone capturing a, quote, enemy pilot or pilots. How concerning is that for you?
Unironically, if you lean the wall, you might get found out. Is that actually true, that Americans like to lean on walls, but other people don't? Is that actually true? Because I love to lean on walls. It is? That's crazy to me. I guess, like, thinking about it, I don't think I've ever seen a European lean on a wall, but American cowboys love to do that shit in the movies, so I don't know.
Well, it's to be expected, right? And, you know, anytime you are trained to go into enemy territory, you know that sort of thing is going to happen. The government there is probably going to do everything it can to find those pilots and weapons systems officer, and they'll do anything, you know, they'll influence the population to try to turn them over. And again,
I mean, this guy's literal job was bombing their country, so the local population probably doesn't need that much motivation.
We just don't know the status of that. The other thing is, where did this happen within Iran? Iran is a huge area, and people have to understand that Iran is the size landmass of Vietnam, Iraq, and Afghanistan combined. So you're talking a long way. If this happened, somewhere in the middle of Iran, then
I appreciate that she's doing power scaling, like in an anime. You know what I mean? The three previous fights in the tourney arc, the Yu Yu Hakusho battle. You don't understand. Iran is more powerful than fucking every previous combatant combined. It's all the other countries we've invaded: Afghanistan, Iraq, Vietnam. It's the only perspective we have. It's bigger than Germany. What the fuck is a Germany? How big is a Germany? We haven't invaded them in a while.
It'd be very hard to sustain operations to try to find these aircrew. But if it happened closer to the coast, perhaps that's a better indication of our forces being able to stay on scene, shall we say, and try to get the folks.
America will use everything but the metric system. That's true. No, it's not going good for us. I mean, it's by us, I mean America. Israel, the demon state. Iran is rapidly digging out and repairing underground missile bunkers and silos, restoring them within hours after U.S. and Israeli strikes. Despite claims of major damage, U.S. intelligence say Iran has a significant number of missiles and launchers and can keep attacking. We're never getting out. We're never getting out. That pilot's about to unblock the Strait of Hormuz on their own? You think so? It's like the Strait of Hormuz. It's literally just the Death Star, dude. If you can run your F-15 right down the strait and find the critical point to fire the missiles into, you can open up the strait on your own, okay? You just have to believe in yourself. Footage of an A-10 hit? We have footage of an A-10 being hit? Yep, that's a hit. Sometimes you can't tell with these videos. I really appreciate the fact that the IRGC has been doing the Department of War bit where they just release videos of their targeting systems. It's pretty scary that Iran I really don't think we were ready for this. Iran has equipment that can track our aircraft. We were talking in the lead up to the conflict. We were talking like, well, they can't even hit our shit. Our planes are invisible or something. They're cloaked. Not A-10s, of course, but I mean, A-10s are a lot slower than F-15s, but still. But no, they've got a clean mark. That is a very very direct hit, I think. I mean, they're shooting down less than Iraq did. Yeah, but Iraq was a modern military. I mean, during the Gulf War, Iraq had better equipment than Iran has today in a lot of cases. No drones, of course. I mean, some technology is advanced for everyone, but by and large, yeah, Iraq was much more developed. People are genuinely surprised Iran's fighting back with modern weapons. I mean, in fairness, we have not fought an enemy that was even remotely our peer since the Gulf War. And the Gulf War, we dismantled them with superior planning and a well-coordinated, assault that we planned for extensively. When was the last time we fought a conflict against a real... I mean, Jesus, it would have to be Vietnam, wouldn't it? Obviously, they weren't our peer, but they could pose a threat to us. I'm not talking just about peerage. I'm talking like, Korea maybe? It's just been a while. We're just not used to seeing our guys get killed, It's more demoralizing for us. Iran expects to lose people. We don't, which means that it's much more devastating to our already fragile morale when we do lose them, America could kill 1,000 Iranian soldiers, and they'll be like, yeah, we expected that, glory to Allah, or whatever the fuck they like to say. But we lose one pilot, and it's like fucking mainstream news coverage, Oh, we lost the pilot. Not even the pilot, the fucking weapons officer on the plane. The guy that hits the button. The pilot's up there doing G-52 maneuvers, and the weapons guy, his job is that when the button flashes red, you hit it. Or something. I don't know. It's not. I haven't done it. I assume that's more or less what he does. We're freaking out over him. Intercept claims CENTCOM is lying, and in reality, over 700 U.S. soldiers are injured or killed in the war. Yeah, I've been saying this since the beginning, but we are 100% lying about the number of casualties at bases in the region. 100%, without a doubt. And they can only hide it for so long, by the way, because you can't really hide a soldier's death forever. Casualties, injuries, you can heal people up and send them back, but a death, their body has to be accounted for. I mean, like, it's not like they're anonymous or whatever. Like, they're known. If they die, it will come out eventually, which means that there are at the very least dozens of parents who have not yet been informed of the death of their children, which again is to be expected in a conflict. But the more of a gap there is between their actual death and their announcement, I think the more, it's like a rubber band being pulled back. It's in a lot of cases. Very Russian moment, yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Not if you deported their family. That is true. That is true. I'm just waiting for, because eventually they're going to have to do a dignified transfer for, like, a lot more bodies. As if the current admin cares, they will let the bodies rot in the desert. This administration might let that happen. That's not out of character for them, but that would make a lot of people very angry. I know that Trump has always very visibly hated veterans, but there is like an expected standard for decorum of the dead. Like, there's a reason Fox News would not broadcast the footage of Trump wearing a baseball cap to a dignified transfer. There is still like a Republican military culture where like they can overlook or ignore all the times that Trump has said that veterans are suckers or he prefers people who weren't captured or whatever. But they would still be sensitive to that kind of thing. Iran war support has declined very rapidly since the start. Yeah, very, 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 very rapidly. And what's more, it's continuing to go down, It's not like it started super low and then kind of slowly paces down. Over the course of the month, it's gone down like a solid 8 points, which is... yeah. I don't think anyone cares given they still supported him after his comments about McCain. They don't care about McCain because McCain was the enemy. He was like a neocon rhino, Also, they think those comments were fake. Like, they just lie about them. But the difference is that rather than something that can be attributed specifically to Trump, the abandoning of dead bodies in the desert, in Iran, that would be, for one, it's difficult to ignore. And for two, you don't have to blame Trump for it. You can blame, like, people around Trump, They'll say that's fake too. Some of them will. Some of them will, yeah. But not all of them.